Tell me do something for God and country and go back to work.
That's a good one right there.
I'm gonna kick your butt, Tom.
Can you threaten to kick me in a funnier way?
Rick Harrison and his family have built one of the most recognized names in American television. But behind the cameras of Pawn Stars lies a story far more dramatic than anything that's ever aired on the show. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas has been a family institution since 1989, a place where Rick Harrison carried forward a legacy started by his father Richard, and where he always imagined his own children would one day do the same. For years, that dream seemed very much alive, but life had other plans. Rick has 3 sons, Corey, Adam, and Jake, each walking a very different path. Corey, the eldest, became a fan favorite almost immediately when Pawn Stars debuted in 2009. His sharp humor, his easy chemistry with co-workers like Austin Chumley Russell, and his obvious passion for the business made him one of the most beloved figures on the show. But fame and success came with their own pressures. In 2018, Corey's marriage to Karina Harrison fell apart after just 1 year. He spoke openly about it, saying they loved each other deeply, but their competing schedules simply made things impossible. Despite the heartbreak, the two parted on respectful terms, both wishing the other nothing but the best. Then there was Adam, Rick's second son, who chose a life away from the spotlight entirely. No cameras, no reality TV, just a quiet, private existence. And then Jake, Rick's youngest from his second marriage to Tracy, who burst onto the scene in season 18 in 2021. His debut was unforgettable. Tasked with identifying a genuine Rolex from a fake, Jake passed with flying colors, proving the pawn shop instincts were very much in his blood. Fans took to him immediately, and his energy breathed something fresh into the show. Beyond his sons, Rick also has 3 stepdaughters, Kiana, Serena, and Marissa, all remarkable young women carving out their own stories. Kiana had a stunning wedding in June 2022 with Rick proudly by her side walking her down the aisle, and she's now a mother herself. Rick's social media posts leave no doubt about how devoted a grandfather he is. Marissa has built a career as a talented hair and makeup artist with a celebrity clientele that includes names like Karen Fox and Heidi Montag. And Serena, an alumna of Louisiana State University, is focused and driven, building her own professional future. Together, the Harrisons painted a picture of a family that, despite its complications, was holding things together. But then the ground shifted in ways no one could have prepared for. The family was struck by a loss so painful, so sudden, that it changed everything. Adam Harrison, just 39 years old, passed away on January 19, 2024. The cause of his passing was determined to be a combination of fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid so extraordinarily powerful that even an amount smaller than a grain of salt can be fatal. Rick confirmed the devastating news to Fox News Digital, and in doing so, he didn't just grieve privately, he spoke out loudly, passionately, urging action against the flood of this dangerous substance crossing borders and destroying families. He made clear that this drug had transformed his son into someone he no longer recognized. In the days before his passing, Adam had been living in a guest house in the Las Vegas area. A woman staying in an RV nearby later reported that his behavior had become increasingly erratic. He had been pushing furniture against doors, barricading himself inside. He was last seen on January 17th. When he stopped responding and a concerned neighbor couldn't reach him, the landlord was contacted. On January 19th, the landlord entered the guest house and found Adam unresponsive. Near him, police discovered paraphernalia consistent with drug use. The Harrison family had lost one of their own, and the grief was immense. But, as if the weight of that loss wasn't already crushing, Rick Harrison was simultaneously facing a legal storm that threatened the very foundation of everything he had built. His own mother, Joanne Harrison, now 81 years old, had filed a lawsuit against him. The legal papers named Rick, the pawn shop, and several of his business entities as defendants. Joanne alleged that years earlier, following a medical crisis in the early 2000s, Rick had persuaded her to sign over her 51% interest in the pawn shop at a time when she wasn't fully aware of what she was agreeing to. After Rick's father, Richard, passed away in 2018, Joanne inherited his 49% share of the business. But she claimed Rick had never provided her with complete financial records and that she could not account for more than $500,000 in cash and silver. Rick pushed back firmly, calling the allegations completely false and suggesting that his elderly mother was being manipulated by outside parties for their personal gain. But Joanne's legal team was persistent. She was seeking unspecified damages, a full accounting of assets, and a court order preventing Rick from using any funds that belonged to her. She also requested a constructive trust over the properties she believed were rightfully hers. The financial stakes were staggering. The pawn shop typically generated over $1 million a year, though the pandemic had reduced that figure dramatically, with 2020 bringing in just over $37,000. That financial pressure only deepened the fractures in the family. The situation escalated further when Joanne sought a temporary restraining order against Rick. She claimed that the regular payments of $25,000 she had been receiving from the business had abruptly stopped, leaving her unable to cover her medical and personal expenses. Her health required around-the-clock care costing as much as $115,000 a month. Rick was reportedly blindsided, discovering the restraining order request through news coverage. He expressed genuine confusion, noting that one of the companies named in the lawsuit was actually owned entirely by his mother. And while all of this was unfolding, older controversies began resurfacing as well. Back in 2015, Rick had made headlines after expressing his political views publicly and endorsing a presidential candidate, comments that led to several product endorsements being pulled. Separately, in 2013, a report emerged that production companies behind Pawn Stars had been accused of wage-related violations by the Writers Guild of America East, with writers and producers reportedly earning significantly less than their counterparts on other television productions. In 2012, a disabled Vietnam veteran named Daniel Callahan filed a civil lawsuit claiming he had been physically mistreated inside the pawn shop during a dispute over a rifle appraisal. He alleged he was grabbed, dragged through the store, and forced outside. The case was widely believed to have been settled privately. Another controversy surrounded a stolen antique coin collection in 2014. A woman named Jennifer Beckman allegedly took her uncle's coin collection, valued at $50,000, to the gold and silver pawn shop over 3 visits, receiving just over $1,000 for pieces that included rare coins from the late 1800s and early 1900s. By the time the rightful owner discovered what had happened, the shop informed him the coins had already been processed and melted down. A spokesperson for the shop explained that coins are routinely assessed by trusted experts and sometimes melted when their appraised value doesn't align with expectations. It was a situation that left the shop fielding serious criticism. Meanwhile, Corey Harrison was writing his own controversial chapters. In 2011, he was arrested following a confrontation at a bar in Big Bear Lake, California. A heated disagreement with another customer escalated, and when a deputy and a security guard stepped in, Corey allegedly shoved both of them. He was booked on battery and resisting arrest charges, held for a few hours, and released. His legal team maintained that Corey felt he had done nothing wrong. 10 years later, in 2021, a very different but equally damaging story emerged. Corey had rented a 37-foot RV from a private owner through a rental marketplace, claiming he intended to use it as an office for a short desert trip. What the owner got back 6 days later bore little resemblance to what had been rented out. Photos circulated showing significant external damage, a thoroughly trashed interior, broken eggs on the floor, empty vodka bottles scattered everywhere, and sand coating every surface. The owner estimated the damages between $20,000 and $30,000 and said Corey refused to cover the costs. The owner had already been financially strained by the pandemic and had to cancel 10 other rental reservations while the vehicle was being repaired. Corey's team later claimed the RV had developed mechanical issues and had been towed back, and that insurance was involved. But the situation left a lasting mark on Corey's public image. And then came the most serious legal trouble yet. In the early hours of September 11th, 2023, around 2 a.m, a Las Vegas police officer observed Corey's white Ford F250 swerving in and out of a bike lane. Corey had just flown in from Minnesota, where he had been filming Pawn Stars Do America. When pulled over, the officer noted bloodshot eyes and detected a strong smell of alcohol. Corey was asked to perform a field sobriety test. He alleged that a serious wrist and shin infection from a recent shoot in Rhode Island, combined with uneven pavement at the stop location, had affected his balance and performance on the test. The breathalyzer available at the scene was reportedly malfunctioning, so a blood sample was taken instead, and Corey was then taken to Clark County Detention Center, where he spent roughly 8 hours before being released. He immediately announced plans to hire an attorney and fight the charges, insisting the circumstances had been stacked against him from the start. What makes the Harrison story so gripping is not just the fame or the fortune. It is the raw, unfiltered reality that no amount of television success can shield a family from pain, loss, conflict, and consequence. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop still stands in Las Vegas, still open for business, still iconic. But the family that built it has been tested in every possible way, through grief, through courtrooms, through public scrutiny, and through private heartbreak. And through all of it, the story keeps going, because that is what families do. They endure.